Hi, and welcome. I want to welcome everyone to the Joint Veterans Endorsement for Veterans in Politics International, the Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus, the Nevada Veterans Association, and Armed Forces. We're conducting an interview with the Nevada State Board of Education candidate, Rene Cantu, and at this time, I want to have Pastor Philip Washington give our invocation.
Dear gracious God, we gather together in this assembly, God, to observe and to examine and listen, God, for the vision that's in the heart of this candidate. We pray that each endorser would listen with compassion and listen with intently and ask the necessary questions that would answer the questions for those that are going to be listening. And in your name, we give you praise and glory. Let us thank God. Amen.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank our sponsors, Brown Law Office, Stephanie Phillips, U.S. Senate candidate, Ava Bravo, Las Vegas Justice of the Police Department 2 candidate, Christian Bishop, Nevada State Senate District 5, and Barbie's Goodies Vegas. All interviews start precisely at the time given to the candidates and have been confirmed by them. If they are late, it's an automatic disqualification for endorsement. We also want to say welcome to Jasmine Kurys. Kurys, thank you. I am Lisa Guzman. I am the moderator. I am a trustee for the Clark County School District, District A. My district runs from Henderson all the way down to Laughlin. I will be moderating. I'm going to explain the interview process to you right now, and then we'll go through it if that's okay. So the panel members, all of our panel members will introduce themselves, give their name, position, and organization that they represent. Then I am going to give you about 30 seconds to introduce I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds to introduce yourselves. I need you to include why you are running and why you're seeking the endorsement. And I'll remind you. And then I want you to know that this is not a debate, so when a question from a panel member is asked, you will please direct your answer towards the panel member only. When a panel member asks you a question, you have about 45 seconds to answer. With 15 seconds left, you will see a yellow card, and that will be Jim that will show you the yellow card. And when your time is up, you will get the red card. In the end, we will give you 1 minute for a closing statement each, and that will end our interview process, okay? And do you guys have any questions before we begin? No? Great. Then I'm going to ask the panel members to please introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Jim Jonas, Director of Veterans in Politics.
Good morning, Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber PAC.
Patsy Brown, Armed Forces Chamber PAC.
Mikey Kelly, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus. Welcome.
Martin Walker, Veterans in Politics.
Matthew DeFalco, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus.
Tim Smith, Nevada Democratic Veterans Military Family Caucus, also a student at UNLV.
Great. So now I am going to ask you to introduce yourselves and then tell us why you're running and why you're seeking the endorsement. You're going to have 30 seconds, and please remember that Jim has his awesome cards to remind you. Okay, and let's start with our incumbent, Rene.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rene Cantu. I am currently serving as a member of the Nevada State Board of Education for District 4. I've been redrawn and am running now for District 3. I am running because I am very passionate about making our schools better for our kids and our families. I believe that our schools need a lot of work to be better than they are. In many ways, our kids are in crisis. Oh, I got a yellow. So I'm running to try to help make the school system better for families and kids, for everybody. And I'm seeking your support. I'm seeking your support because veterans are a very important part of this community. You all have children and families. You have a mindset of service to others, which many in education share. And so I believe that we're common allies in trying to make our community better.
Thank you. Jasmine, please.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Kurys. This is my first campaign. I'm very excited to get into politics. I want to start addressing the root of the problems we're having as a country, and I think it starts with our children by feeding and educating them on things that have currently been taken out of education system, like home ec and how to eat proper food, but also how to get access to it. So that's a big focus I have is food and food education. I'm seeking y'all's support because I think veterans are incredibly underserved in our country, and you're one of the root problems I would like to get to. I think our veteran community, I'm from Texas, I know a lot of veterans, I have a lot of them in my life, and I just think what the government does is kind of sad for when y'all return.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to start with the panel's questions. Yes, please breathe. Please breathe. I promise you, these are great people. They're going to ask you good questions. And if there needs to be a follow-up, I promise I will absolutely clarify for you. So please relax. Enjoy this because these are great people and you should. All right, Jim, let's get started.
So, Jim Jonas, Director of Veterans and Politics. My main question is, how do we balance the difference between people that actually have special needs and have an issue learning in our schools being put together with kids that are actually just behavioral problems? What's the answer to that question? It's for both of you. Jasmine, I'll start with you and then go to Rene.
To be frank, I think a lot of our behavioral problems are a part of our diet. A lot of kids don't have access to nutritionally dense food at home, and then they get served horrible food at schools, and then we wonder why they can't sit still or might be acting up or might be sleeping in a lot of cases. So that's one way that we could address a lot of our behavioral issues is taking some of that pressure off of the parents. Not every student has parents who can feed them, or not every student has parents, and I don't think that those students should be less likely to succeed because of that. When it comes to special needs, a lot of us have special needs. I think that our schools do a very horrible job in getting kids the proper needs for mental health, access. Okay, sorry, there's the red card.
That's totally fine.
Okay, so all right, candidates, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry, Lisa, I forgot to clarify. So when I give you the red card, if you're in the middle of a sentence, please finish the sentence. The only reason why I give the red card is to keep us on time, and I just don't want you to start another sentence and another thought. And I know these time constraints are rough, so I do apologize for that, but we have to stay on track. So
Absolutely.
by all means, please finish your sentence. Thank you.
And remember, this is a military organization. They run on time. Right? We got to remember that. All right.
All right. So
Rene?
Anyway, I know the legislature passed the pupil-centered funding plan to try to weight funds to go to kids who have special needs, whether they're at risk, English language learners, gifted students, and so on. So I think that's a good step in terms of putting money where it belongs. You're asking about the difference between a behavioral problem and students with special needs. Very often they're the same or similar. I think we really need to focus on trauma-informed care. in helping our young people, because very often young people act out because they have bad situations at home and or at school, a variety of places. Social media certainly does not help. You know, you cannot get away from the negativity and the bullying and the crap, excuse my language. But I believe that, you know, having smaller classes is essential. When you have 40 kids in a class, how can a teacher really help one person versus another? It's impossible.
So I'm going to offer a follow-up to this question, because the state board actually writes policies that are implemented throughout the state in all districts. You're not just focused in on one district, the Clark County School District. I know that a lot of people think it is, but it isn't. It is for all districts. We have 17 districts in this state. So looking at emotionally disturbed students versus special ed students, the policy that you could help our emotionally disturbed students so that they have a pathway versus infringing on the academics of the special ed student, right? And I know I'm speaking in academic language, and I apologize. I work in the academic field. So, Jasmine, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, hold on.
'Cause remember, you would be writing the policy. It would be going into the NAC, the Nevada Administrative Code, right? And so all the districts would have to follow that policy.
Absolutely. Well, right now, I just don't think any district, probably nationwide, serves our students' mental health problems or special needs problems. And I think, let's see, hold on, I'm struggling.
Sorry.
No, that's not your fault. I have to come back.
That's totally
sorry.
fine, totally fine. Rene, what are your thoughts?
With regard to emotionally disturbed, I have two children who had one an IEP, another a 504. So I have contended with trying to get help for young people, you know, my own children, you know, who have issues. With regard to students who have, you know, anxiety, depression, you know, other issues, it's absolutely essential that we set policy that will provide mental health services more readily. Currently, I'll be honest with you, as a parent, when you're dealing with a 504 or IEP, I think the school is so overwhelmed, they're trying to do as little as they have to, and like not identifying the disability because they're so darn overwhelmed, to the point where without a parent advocating or someone advocating on their behalf, the students' needs get lost and the conditions in our schools worsen.
Thank you. Jasmine, you want to take a hit at it now?
Yes. So I think getting more skill-based classes into our curriculum and maybe shifting the focus off of STEM a little bit onto how students can actually take care of themselves. I was in the public education space when No Child Left Behind Act was enforced, and so I saw it before and after, while I was in education, and the way that it had changed my education structure, and the way that these skills were lost, like basic carpentry or sewing or cooking, and a lot of that pressure is put onto parents who are working full-time jobs, who might not have the time or the skills to actually teach those life skills to students. And if we get more life skills back into classes, I think we can help address a lot of issues that aren't actually issues.
Great. Thank you. All right, Andre.
Andre Haynes, Armed Forces Chamber PAC. This question is for both of you. Lately, the local press has covered several stories about CCSD faculty and staff being arrested and charged with having inappropriate sexual relationships with students. If elected, how would you help prevent this from continuing to happen?
All right, let's start with you, Rene.
Okey-doke. You know, the superpower of the Nevada State Board of Education is the ability to pass regulation, like you were saying. And so I think what we can do is, you know, have the department, you know, look at the issues that are underlying, you know, what you're talking about, And that's how it works. They will, we will have someone in the department conduct a study on, let's say, absenteeism or ELL students, identify the underlying causes, and then help to write, policy to that end, or regulation, I should say. And so I think that in our role that, we have to balance, safety with student engagement. When you walk into a school, and I did recently, and you have a guard at the bathroom door telling you to stop going to the bathroom, knocking on, telling you to get the heck out, there's something really wrong with the system.
Great. Okay, Jasmine?
To be very frank, I think that people who do that to children are going to find any means possible to lie and get into the schools anyway. So it's, to me, being a person, a survivor of a lot of sexual assault growing up and even in the schools and by teachers, I'd like to see more of a focus on the education to the kids and the teachers to look out for signs, warning signs. How do you identify that this adult is overstepping because you don't have a father and they actually want to help you, or they're overstepping in a way that is inappropriate? And so I think teaching our kiddos about that behavior and not saying that they are too young to know it because they're going through it. They need more tools to be able to speak out and to tell adults what's actually happening.
We also have a fingerprint clearance that the Department of Ed has ensured that goes along with certification and things like that for background screening. So, okay, great. Next question.
Patsy Brown, Armed Forces Chamber PAC. Question is for both of you. Can you tell us your educational background and why you qualify for this position?
Jasmine, we'll start with you.
Absolutely. I went to college, UT Austin, Hook'em Longhorns. I went to school. Really? Oh, I love it. I love it. I went to school for theatrical entertainment. I was a stage manager for a very long time. And I have experienced a lot of trauma in that route, including working at Mandalay Bay the night of the shooting, and on my college campus losing 2 students to some pretty gruesome things that had happened. And so I have a lot of education and things outside of traditional education that I think will help students. Right now, I have shifted careers into food education. So I've worked at the farmers markets for the past 3 years, just trying to get people access. I've worked with garden communities on getting gardens into schools and senior centers, and that's just a big push I have, because I have recognized how much food really impacts our ability to do anything in life.
Great, thank you. Rene?
So thank you for the question, Patsy. So my background, I grew up in Laredo, Texas on the border. I was a Head Start student when I was 4 or 5, which means I was a low-income child identified as very much at risk. I graduated high school in the bottom quarter of my high school class. I was not attentive in school. When my parents went through a divorce, I rebelled and skipped classes and did all kinds of things, right? So I had a counselor tell me, Cantu, you should drop out now because you'll never amount to anything. And that made me so mad that I went on to college. So I went to the University of Texas at Austin as a provisional student, which is on probation. I have a bachelor's and master's in fine arts and a PhD in higher ed administration from the University of Texas at Austin. And, to me, education is a lifelong thing. I continue to learn and strive to improve my mind all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mikey, you have a question?
I do.
Maybe?
Maybe? Maybe. Mikey Kelly, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus. I hear a lot about military members and veterans. Everybody loves this. Thank you very much. Great, appreciate it. Thank you for your service. Yeah, okay, whatever. Okay. I'm just being very blunt. I don't need that. You both went to UT. Obviously, Texas has a very powerful and very robust military population. You're literally down the street from Fort Cavazos, formerly Fort Hood. Fort Cavazos. And it is, and Texas does a lot for their military families. I'll be blunt, Nevada does not do that much for our military families. And they're going through very serious dynamics. What are you going to do to make sure, and I appreciate the Purple Star schools, but we need a lot more. We need training, we need a better understanding of what these families go through on a daily basis. What are you willing to do as members of the Board of Education to make sure statewide, and all veterans are different from here to Fallon, there's a whole different military branches, different climates. What are you going to do to make sure that our state, is insofar as education K through 12, is much more equipped to handle our military families?
Starting with you.
I think for one, first I would have to learn a good bit more so that I can be more effective. Two, with regard to helping families, I know military families have, a lot going on, especially if things are going on in the world and people are at risk, out there. Children, I believe, would need additional support, and families and parents. So I believe, as a member of the State Board of Education, that we could look at policy and regulation to provide support for military families as they have to travel in times of distress and trauma. A lot of what we were talking about earlier with regard to mental and emotional challenges, those are the sorts of things that I would strive to provide to military families and others.
Great. Thank you. Jasmine?
I think going back to focusing on the students and taking some of that pressure off of the parents to have to be a full-time teacher at home, and instead getting to enjoy actual time with their kids and not have to worry about, does my kid know how to sew their shirt or bandage their leg or cook a meal for themselves. And again, with the mental health aspect, trying to get just more access to mental health to everybody in general. I also would like to see a shift from growing up in Texas, you were taught if you were a rowdy student that there was, and when I was growing up, that there was no other option but the military. And I think that we should stop putting that focus onto our kids or forcing them into the military. Being in the military should be an absolute choice. It should be an educated choice and not one that kids feel is their only option left because they can't seek higher education.
Thank you. All right, we're going to Tim Smith.
Just 1 second. We're
Okay.
running really close on time, so I do apologize. If this will be our final question, and what I'll do for the next endorsement interview is we'll reverse this way. So in other words, I'll be cut off if we're over time. Does that make sense? All right, go ahead.
Tim Smith, Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Family Caucus, also a student at UNLV. Have some thoughts. What are your thoughts on enhanced security measures in the schools? That's one question. And the second is kind of dynamic. What if the Clark County School District were broken up and allowing Boulder City to have a district, Henderson or North Las Vegas, being the fifth largest district in the country?
Okay, I believe we're starting with Jasmine, right? Okay. Yeah.
So security in schools really comes, I think, to educating on what to do in emergency situations. I grew up my whole life learning what to do in emergency situations, which is why when I was in them, I felt incredibly prepared to take care of them. A lot of people don't get that access, and a lot of people think that, why would I need to learn about, shootings in the theater? Was never going to happen. Well, you'd rather learn about it and not need it than need it and not know. So whether it's how to respond to physical response or, okay, sorry, I'm losing it, but I'll stop there.
Great, thank you. All right, Rene.
Oh, okay. So enhanced security measures, if you go to a school today, they look like a prison or a jail. There are bars everywhere. So I think there is a lot of security in schools. What we need to look at are, we need to look to see if our background checks are sufficient. I think when we screen, we're so hungry to fill vacancies. that we're putting bodies in places to have a teacher or a sub there. I believe that we need more behavioral interview questions. Perhaps that could be policy or regulation, so that we can get down to the character and integrity of the person to identify any red flags that would point to, this person. When you interview someone, they're like, I got red flags. You should listen to it. With regard to breaking up CCSD, we need to look at that closely, and I believe that I currently represent Moapa and Mesquite. They want their own district. Other parts want their own district. We would just need to make sure that funding for students is adequate across the board. Otherwise, you'll end up with rich and poor districts.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you so much. So this ends our interview. I want to thank you all for coming. I know.
They got to do their closing.
I know. I will. Can you give me a minute, Jim?
You remind me of a teacher I used to have, but you don't have a ruler in your hands.
You know what? I think on the next round, I'm going to have a ruler.
Okay.
All right. So I want to thank you all. I know that running for office is really difficult since I've done it myself. We are going to give you one more minute just to kind of close up and wrap up and hit the points that we didn't hit. So, and remember that when he shows his red, you can finish your sentence, Jasmine, okay? So we'll start with you, Jasmine, since I did let Rene start.
Well, thank you guys all for your time, first off, and for letting me be 30 seconds late. I appreciate that. I just want to see change. That's it. I've always wanted to see change. I've always been very vocal about change, and it's been really difficult being a young female in Texas speaking up when I have. But it has given me a lot of strength to speak up for those who can't, and that is a big focus that I have and have always had, especially in the theater. I like to speak up for the voices that aren't in the room or that maybe don't have a place in the room currently and try to get them a place. I am expecting my first child. I'm 7 months pregnant right now, and thank you. I would like to see change in our school district before she enters it. I used to think that I had to do all of this change before I could even be pregnant, but she has taught me, her and COVID taught me that time doesn't exist the way that I had thought, and that it's never, like now is the best time to start. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Rene?
Sure. So I've been working in the education space. I'm 60 now, so 20 years in higher ed, and the last 20 years in nonprofit in K-12, helping students who are historically underserved in higher ed, or in education in general, who have trouble graduating from high school. Kids who were like I was in high school. I am the executive director. I'm not speaking as them, but I'm the executive director for JAG, Jobs for America's Graduates here in Nevada. And I helped to found the nonprofit 10 years ago. We have helped 20,000 students to graduate and find career pathways. We focus not only on college, but also on the trades, on the military, and other paths into success. Success looks a lot of different ways, and we need to do a better job helping our young people, get into the trades without having to get student loans, without having to borrow, and then, not be able to repay what they owe, and have a good life.
Great, thank you. This does conclude our interview, so we are going to thank our sponsors, Brown Law Office, Stephanie Phillips, U.S. Senate candidate, Ava Bravo, Las Vegas Justice of the Peace Department 2 candidate, Christian Bishop, Nevada State Senate District 5 candidate, and Barbie's Goodies Vegas. This concludes our endorsement interview. I want to thank you all for coming. Thanks for showing up.